All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to that live podcast. Yes, it's that time again, straight after the match. Well, not really straight after the last match, but you know what I mean. We did promise, Ryan and I both promised that we're going to try and do this. And hopefully we can live up to our promise. Ryan, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, good. So far, so good. We lived up on the promise. Didn't just
Mm,
show up 2 months after as before promises. So yeah,
yes.
been good, bro. So happy to be here. Been a exhilarating match against Servette.
Oh,
It made me believe again, It made me
yes.
believe that maybe Champions League might not be
Not too far away.
I don't need to pay for any Champions League subscriptions, thankfully. I'll be a rich man. I'll be a rich man for the next few years.
Yeah, no need to worry about paying for Champions League. That's not in the horizon anytime soon.
Yeah.
Where do we begin? Do you know what, Ryan? We did talk about how last time that we're going to touch base on some of the comments from our previous video. Do you want to start things off from there? Like maybe just first 5-10 minutes, just check through some of the comments from our last video,
Oh, yeah. Let's do
and
it.
then sort of ease into some of the topics we want to talk about. Obviously, post Servette, how you felt about that match. As you said, mostly you really want to touch base on what Maresca said, Mudryk, Mudryk, squad, the lot. And then a little bit looking forward to Wolves as well. We'll talk a little bit about that. Touch base on some of the transfer shenanigans that's been happening. We've got a here we go
Yeah.
for Lukaku. Let's start things off from that last video. So let's check this out. Uh, as you can see, that was the last one. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't caught the last podcast, right there, as you can see, I'm hovering around. That's live podcast. It's right there. Let's click on that. Obviously, we're not gonna watch the video. That would be quite boring to do that right now. But watch it in your own time. Let's go through some of the comments and let's see what people are saying. This comment I would love to go through, but this feels like it's quite lengthy. So we're gonna go. I mean, I'm not discouraging lengthy comments. Please do that. It's just I don't want to. I don't want to read all of that in the video. Let's look at this one from the Fool 5302. Big up to you. Nope, Gallagher is the problem. You see how? Yep, he played yesterday. He can't pass. He can't score. He's pressing merchant. Cardio G needs to be sold. Then we'll play like Man City. He's the whole reason we.
Mm,
He's being sarcastic here, Ryan.
yeah.
How do you? I mean, I don't know if you caught some of my live streams after this, the last show that we did. Ryan, I actually came to a conclusion that looking at our midfield now with Romeo Lavia, Enzo Fernandez, and Caicedo, it's so difficult to fit all of them three in. And as you said last, when we had the last podcast, that maybe the philosophy in midfield is fine. It's just the personnel, and we kind of said we could use a different personnel to Enzo Fernandez. And I sort of said in my consequent live streams that you know what, maybe someone like Conor Gallagher probably wouldn't have been bad as an option in the squad now. Like, I'm not saying he needs to start, but as an option. And I was quick to admit that, yeah, look, I thought he probably wouldn't be a good fit for Maresca. But now looking the way he wants to play, he wouldn't be someone bad in the squad. I mean, are you in that same stance as well by any chance, or good riddance that Conor Gallagher's gone?
No, I think for the money that we got for him is good riddance because I don't think that he was ever to the level that we needed him
Mm,
to be a starting midfielder in our team. And
yeah,
I think that value would have just gone less and less and less and less. So if there's ever a time
yeah,
to sell him, it would be off the campaign where he played as captain for a couple of games. He did put in one or two good performances. He did
Mm,
start for us many times. So I think now would be the best because even if he played this season, he would not have played as much and his value would have just go down to maybe
very
a
true.
loan then buy or 20 million. So I think even though he did well for us, I
Yeah.
think it was the time to press the trigger now.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is also a business, whether we like it or not. Football, yeah, it's a business. It's a business. We got to make money. We can't just let the player go out on a free. Next up, QC7289. Big up, Miz. We are finished as a big club. Our standards are in the bin. 10 to 15 years ago, finishing fifth or even fourth would be considered a very poor season. Now, most fans consider it a success. It's not good enough given the amount of money spent by new owners who seem to have prioritized making a quick buck over winning trophies. Um, Ryan, I feel very strange about these sort of comments. Like I don't know how to react anymore. In one hand, I'm like, yeah, it
I
is true.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I get it. But then on the other hand, I'm like, well, you don't go and get players like João Felix or players like Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, Pedro Neto recently. Like for me, that's like there has to be some level of ambition to win. But then you do mad stuff where you bought players like David Datra Fofana, or you bought players like Chukwemeka, or you bought players like whoever else, and you're looking to flip them. And it was there a necessity to buy so many players when you probably could have bought like three or four really top quality players to build on the team. I don't know how I feel about it, man. Like I'm very confused by our owners and our hierarchy. Where
I
you
think it's
stand, bro?
like I think it's like too much cooks in the kitchen
Mm,
where you're not quite sure if everybody's on the same page or how much voices one is listening to, decision
yeah.
makers, because I'm not quite sure. It seems like, as you said, it's kind of all over the place where
Mm,
we do have it really is not organized. But
yeah.
at the end of the day, to talk about this comment though, I'm still of the impression that we should be fighting for top four every
Yeah.
single year,
Yeah.
and that this season, I think fans, it's a kind of weird one when you think about fans, right? Because I was
Mm,
listening to a Chelsea space yesterday, right?
mm,
And it seems like, I don't know, I wanted to bring this up to you, that
mm,
Chelsea fans, there's new Chelsea fans and a lot of foreign fans who now started supporting the club in past 10 or 15 years, and we only know the Roman era, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
100%.
so want success to be continued, and our success is Champions League football, competing for trophies and winning trophies, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then there are those people who came or who were fans before the Roman era, right? And
Mm,
those people see Chelsea as like a family club and trying to preserve the culture that was there before the Roman times. And they are kind of the ones that who might be more okay with this rebuild and the slow progress into Champions League again
mm,
because they kind of don't like this glory hunting nature of the newer generation of fans. They kind of feel like the newer generation fans are kind of like bandwagon fans,
mm,
whilst they
mm,
were
mm.
there from the roots of Chelsea and the, the actual
The
culture of what it
struggling
meant to be
times, the struggle
Chelsea
times, they've
before.
seen it.
Yeah, and it's one thing to be from there, that
Mm,
struggle time, but it's a next thing to say that you want to keep Chelsea in this struggle that we are at right now.
mm.
Does that make sense? It feels like those fans are kind of okay with where Chelsea are right now because they've been there before.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it shouldn't be that way. It's that you've been there before and you've seen this growth that's happened for the past 2 decades. and
Yeah.
should want us to continue on that
Yeah. No need
trajectory
to go
instead of
back to
falling
that.
off.
Like, no need
Yeah,
to appreciate those moments and going back to that. Like, the foundation was there that Roman had left to catapult into the next, you know, stratosphere, basically.
yeah. So I just think it's a weird one where us as a fan base don't even have coherence in what we are happy with or what we want. So how could even a structure or board represent its fans when its
Mm,
fans are so dissected? Like for example, Barcelona could be broke or they could be buying every single player in a transfer window. All of their fans know that they want to win La Liga and they want to make it to the semifinals of the Champions League. Real Madrid could be in a rebuild or they could be at their biggest powers and they expect to win La Liga, etc. Bayern Munich, same thing. PSG, same thing. But why is it with Chelsea that no matter what our situation is, that we are okay with being less than what we know our club to be for the past 2 decades?
mm.
I think our fans kind of have a responsibility to like to preserve our expectation and our stature. And I think that our fans don't do it as well as other clubs would.
And I agree, man. I agree. I see so many times in the live stream, in the live chat that, oh, just come on, Miz, be positive, be positive, be positive. I'm like, yeah, I don't. It's not about being positive. It's about being real. And I'm not gonna just sit there and just be okay with what is happening. I need to start seeing wins. I'm not gonna be sitting there after a 2-0 loss against Manchester City and say, it's fine, it's okay, things will get better. You know, I need to see those things get better. I'm never gonna say it's fine. Do you know what I mean? So um, we've become a club very much accustomed to a lot of excuses in recent times, and people just need to uh, go through every moment that has taken place since the new ownership has taken over, and truly pinpoint which direction is the club really going and whether it's going the right way or not, and then basically making a concise opinion about it as opposed to just keep the blue flag flying high. I think that's just being very naive and very idiotic. If I'm being,
Let me
yeah,
ask you a question here, right?
yeah.
Let me put on the host hat here for a little bit, right? Let me ask
Mm.
you a question, right?
Talk to me.
So
Talk.
I remember like when I used to be on Twitter in like 2012, right? And that
Mm.
was like back in the days when like Tweet Chelsea UK or Tweet Chelsea FC was like the only big account on Chelsea Twitter. I
Mm.
had like a whole like just the OGs of Chelsea Twitter.
Yeah.
And I remember how we used to make fun of Arsenal fans and Wenger for
Mm.
making top four every season. Like top
Yeah.
four was a trophy for them.
Yeah. They
Like yeah, they made
celebrated that.
top four, and
Yeah.
we I actually remember around 2013 and stuff. I used to kind of pity Arsenal fans. Like, how could it just
Mm.
be okay with every year in and out, not challenging for trophies, not challenging for Premier Leagues or Champions League, and they're just okay with ending up fourth eventually or
Mm.
fighting around fifth and fourth.
Mm.
And I was like, I hope to never feel like that as a fan. And then fast forward now for the past 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
I'm in that spot and I quite don't know how to think or how
Yeah.
to rationalize what I should think or what I should feel. And
Mm.
I just wanted to ask you, as a
Mm.
fan, you've been here on that chair for the past 2 years, watching
Mm.
every match, like having all the meltdowns in the world. And I was like, how do you feel in this point in time with the reality that you're supporting a club that loses as much games as they win in the Premier League season,
Mm.
that um that the fan base is split in the middle with some people being okay with this and some people
Mm.
still holding on to the Roman era. And it just seems that we're just banking on that silver lining to pull us through back
Mm.
to where we would love to be again.
Mm.
How do you feel as a fan? What is your outlook when you look at the, your club and the way you feel about your club?
Honestly, look, Ryan, what a top question. Not many people actually ask that to content creators, and then they actually should be asking that a lot more. How do I
Yeah,
feel? Honestly, Ryan, I feel I feel lost. I feel very unclear. I feel I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel disconnected at times. I feel upset. I feel angry at times. I feel sad. And I seriously don't know where it all turns around. I don't know. I thought these sort of bad seasons, they only last a season and then we bounce back. When we used to see it under Roman, we'd have a bad season and then we'd bounce back and generally win the Premier League. Um, Now it's a bad season followed by another bad season and potentially followed by, I don't know, maybe another bad season. I don't know. Um, I'm just I'm lost. That's where I want to be found again. That's how I feel. I want Chelsea to find a lot of us again.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
how I feel.
I wanna also like ask this too, right?
Mm,
Like people like who support Chelsea for more than 20 years. Like, I'm sorry that I'm only 25, right? 26, so can't
mm.
support it for 25 years. No, I can't. Like, I only learn like vocabulary and shit. Like,
You glory
like
hunter,
yeah,
Roman. You
but
only follow Chelsea because of Roman. No,
yeah,
I kind of
and
was born in this era.
think about this, right? I'm from Trinidad, right? I know a
Mm,
lot of people commenting, is this a Trini? Is this a Trini? Yes, from Trinidad, right? But
yeah.
like people who were born in Trinidad in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? They
Mm,
would love Trinidad for different reasons, right? The calypso, the culture, carnival, this and that.
mm,
And the old school culture of what made island people back in those days.
yeah.
But for me now, who born in the 90s, I grew to learn of a much different Trinidad. And but it is still my culture. It's still I love my people. I still love the friendships I've made, the food, the drinks, the party, the lifestyle.
Mm,
And I feel a belonging and a love towards my country. But am
mm,
I less of a Trinidadian than somebody who was born in the 60s or 40s? So let me
mm.
just switch it over to this now. I
Yeah,
understand that Chelsea in the 80s, 90s was that family club nature. And
yeah.
from a psychology and a human level, that family-like feeling of going to the stadium with your grandparents and this and that, and your uncles, and that match day feeling. I would probably never know how it feels to feel that way in London there back in
Mm,
those days. And supporting your club, it probably did so much for the heart and so
yeah.
much for your psyche and your love for life, etc. But what
Mm,
about people from in the Roman era who switched on the TV and the seeing Jose Mourinho gave them confidence to go out there and live their
mm,
life and then growing up into adults seeing our team win gave me the confidence to go out there and win in my personal life. And
mm.
then not only that, but when things got dark, seeing us lift those trophies and the excitement of being in semifinals and finals
Yeah.
brought us out of dark times where we were excited and shouting on live streams and this and that. And like, don't we like, does that mean less than the other part? Because at the end of the day, it's the Chelsea badge either way. It is the evolution of the Chelsea badge, but either at the end of the day, it's still Chelsea and it's still a love there for it. It just evolved over time due to our success.
Mm,
So I don't think it's not even glory hunting. It's just that there's millions of people of Chelsea fans out there in the past 20 years or 15 years
Yeah,
that have a personal connection to the way our club made us feel when we won on weekends, when we won those trophies, when we were together with our family watching on TV or in the stadium jumping with them, um, catering a whole party before,
100%.
after the match, eating food, making food, this and that. So, is it bad that we don't want to let go of that? That we want to see our fans keep
It,
on being happy?
it can't be bad, Ryan. Like, and to add to what you just said, all of that is so true. And the other thing that I just want to add to that is, I don't know about you, but Chelsea of that era, that Roman era, was a sense of motivation to me. The way the
Yeah,
team used to play, the characteristics,
the press
it used to at
conferences,
times, it used to, yeah, like it used to drive me in life. Like I at times would watch those matches and watch those characters perform and carry themselves in that manner. And I used to take some of those things and use it in life. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I used to feel motivated that wow, that's a powerful team. You know, never say die attitude. Like they
yeah,
just bleed till
exactly,
the end. And it
exactly.
I carried that watching, and then I'd utilize that in my day-to-day life. Like I'd be like, nah, my team never gave up. I'm not gonna give up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whether it's in university, whether it's in family
and
matters, whether it's in job.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But now I see my Chelsea, and I'm like, I don't want to take any of your qualities to my real life, you know, because
Yeah, I don't want my children taking these qualities either, you know, like
your qualities are very frail and very fragile and very, very
they're
flimsy.
fighting to take a penalty. Like
Yeah.
five people fighting for a penalty.
I'm not learning no, do you know what I mean, new skills to take in my life. You keep your skills. I'm quite happy with what I've learned so far in life. So
Yeah,
it's sad. It's sad, and that's how I feel. That's how I feel. But man, what a top question, Ryan. Honestly, top question. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously we've taken up a lot of time on those comments, so we're not going to go through any more.
yeah. A
Really,
lot of
really
time on those two
apologize.
comments.
Yeah,
Like,
next time
yo,
we're going to try and
next
go through.
time, next, yeah, next time we'll get to maybe one more, three
Maybe we'll
comments
try
next
and
time.
squeeze one or two more, but keep those comments coming.
Yo, that's life. That's life.
That's life. That's life. That's life, man. And no, some really really loaded comments. Then we'll try our best to go through more next time. All right, Ryan. Let's now talk about the present status. Did you get to watch Chelsea 2, Servette, Neil, by any chance?
Yeah, I did.
How'd you feel, man?
It,
Talk to me a little bit about the match. How'd you feel?
honestly, there's a lot of people, I mean, a lot of players in that match weren't starting 11 players.
Mm.
And on the second game of the season, I'm
Mhm.
happy to come out with a 2-0 win. Should have been 3 or even 4. And I
Yeah.
expecting to see champagne football two, from
Mhm.
game 2. But at the end of the day, let a win is a win, and let's
Mhm.
take that momentum. And all I'm worrying about right now is win.
Yeah.
I want
Okay.
to win. We keep on winning, and eventually things will start going in the way that how we want to win. You can't think about how you want to win if you don't win.
I love how you're thinking that way because I came off the match feeling very dissatisfied. I was like, I had this expectation of you remember we talked in the last That's Life
Yeah,
podcast
we're
that
gonna beat them
well,
badly. We're gonna
6-0. So I was going into the expectation like, oh, I absolutely batter this team, and then we'll go and we'll see what we can do against Wolves. And the fact that Servette was quite competitive actually was a bit of an annoyance to me. And I got out of the match. Yeah, okay, happy we won, but very dissatisfied of our performance. But I'm glad you actually have a different point of view, which is great, because I don't want my fans to just get, oh, Miz, okay, here we go again. He's moaning. He's unhappy. So I'm very like glad and happy that you felt that. Sure, not the greatest, but the 3 points. It's about and momentum. Win and momentum.
Yeah.
So is are you kind of looking at that, Ryan, and thinking players post, and this is what I want to talk to you about now. Post match, a lot of talks have happened. Enzo Maresca has had to say a lot of things about certain players, most specifically Mudryk, a little bit about Mudryk, but it's also about the squad. Are you someone who's thinking, let's just take that win, let's not create too much chaos in the dressing room? It's about getting that winning feeling and then
Yeah.
slowly building on that. Is that how you're looking at it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people like it's when you think about it, how you play on the pitch, it
Mm,
could be you never want to start settling for how did you lose a game or how did you draw a game by playing pretty football, this and that, and being the tactically the best and the best football on the eyes.
mm,
I think that eventually we want to hit the point where we can think about how we win games. But step one is winning games, right?
mm,
I don't
mm.
want to think about how we draw games or how we lose games because that would mean we'd have to draw and lose games. You kind of get what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to say that step
You
one
rather
is
win. You
winning.
rather win. Yeah.
Step one is winning. And
Yeah.
then after that, I'll be concerned with other things. So, and I think it's a habit too. I think when, especially early on the season, it's all about building habits, building
Yeah.
habits, building habits. And I do want to segue into those comments,
Yeah. Let's
however,
go for it. Yeah.
and I feel like it's a double-edged sword,
Mm,
um, especially the comments before this game too,
mm.
leading up to this game. I know, I think is we talked this about this a lot last last month or so when I came on before the
Mm.
season. Um, that there's a lot of young players in our team, especially with Thiago Silva leaving. There's a lot of young players, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people is talking about Enzo Fernandez, right?
Mm, mm.
That he's dropped in performances, and is this the Enzo we imagined? And we even talked about it. But Miss, am I surprised? Or I always say that young players need a, a spine. Young players are the limbs and the skeleton, and they will develop whilst they have the foundation of a spine,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Players like Hazard and the young players that come into teams, they always have a spine that is playing well, and they look up to that spine. Not only in how they play, is how they train, how they lose, how they win, how they carry about themselves, how they speak to the coaches, how they speak to the people working around the club, how they speak to their teammates, how they speak to themselves in training,
Mm.
mentality. When you go to a workplace, right, you want to be
Yeah.
surrounded by people who is better than you, who is more experienced than you, people who could guide you, so that me as a raw talent could take those lessons and learn and become one of those people who could teach the other set of people coming in a few
Mm.
years. Football is no different than that. Enzo is someone who had all the talent, who still has all the talent in the world. But for the past year and a half or 2 years, he came in there and there was no spine to
Yeah.
help him learn all the list of 10 things I just said.
Mm.
And when you give people that no guidance and nothing to live up to, how would they improve? Because improvement is something that I think in human nature, you you adapt your psyche and your habits towards what's closest around you. if I was hanging out with a bunch of idiots, I'll become an idiot. If I was hanging out with really thought-provoking, mature, loving, warm, nurturing people, I'd become that. So I think that in Chelsea, we have a bunch of these young players coming in here. And unless you're an outlier, like a Cole Palmer, we're not dealing with outliers here.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the young players coming in, like a Mudryk, like a Mudryk, this and that,
Hmm.
they have to set their own standards. And how could you give a 21 or 22 or 20-year-old the responsibility to set their own standards? They have no captain. They had 5 coaches in 2 years.
Hmm.
Claire Lake uh, doesn't know about football really.
Hmm.
They just
True.
came in. They
Yeah.
have nothing to look up to. They could only
Hmm.
set the standard as a 21-year-old no, and that is what you see in here. You see in a stagnance in development, and maybe in some players you see in them going down as time goes by. And it's
Why has Chelsea taken this stance? Like you've made a lot of valid points here, and I think a lot of people will agree. Obviously, this is one of the biggest issues: the immaturity of the team. Why has our hierarchies, sporting directors, owners gone through to this path? You've also mentioned that our owners actually have very limited idea about football. They might understand business, but they don't understand football properly. Surely the sporting directors, and maybe the sporting directors from where they come from, are not well equipped either to understand how to build a big club. They might have been quite efficient in having younger players in their previous clubs and flipping them for money. But surely somewhere along the way, the owners, the sporting directors should have come to an agreement that, look, guys, having a plethora of young players is detrimental for a club like Chelsea. Chelsea needs to have certain level of wealth in experience, not necessarily age, but wealth in experience. Why do you think they've just taken this route of F experience? Like,
I'm telling
why
you
not?
why.
Why not keep a Thiago Silva for another season, for example? I'm just throwing an example.
Yeah, because I think whether the intentions are correct or wrong,
Hmm.
they have ideas on how they would like Chelsea's business to be,
Hmm.
and it is a different approach from what you see with different football teams.
Hmm.
And in that, it is more of a business, maybe American approach, American football approach, etc.
Hmm.
Baseball, those kind of sports, American sports
Hmm.
approach. And they want to have full autonomy and adherence to what they are putting out there. Meaning that if you
Hmm.
get inexperienced players, right, they would see experienced players are
Yeah.
leaders.
They'll
They're
see through all of
leaders.
this.
They
Yeah.
will see through, they will see through what
Thiago
the
Silva
board
and
is
his
doing.
wife saw through. You
They
know
will
that.
they will see through from all the layers, from sporting
Yeah.
directors to Clear Lake to the highest of high ups in Clear Lake to the coaches, everything. They'll see through that. Listen,
Yeah.
this approach is not going to work
Hmm.
because football has already a formula that teams have been using for decades and decades on how to be successful. And
Hmm.
this set of owners are very, very strong to stand on that they are going to do what they think is the right
Hmm.
thing to do. And they're not going to adapt their philosophy to our sport, but our
Hmm.
sport is instead going to adapt to us.
To them. Yeah.
And
They're
that is big.
basically trying to be trendsetters. They want to be the trendsetters.
And the thing is that this is what happens when what is on the pitch is not the most important thing to our owner. Let me
Mm.
tell you, Real Madrid owners, they're obsessed with what they see every week. They're obsessed with their players, they're obsessed with the football. And Barcelona is horribly run, but I
Mm.
would say they're obsessed with what they see on the pitch. Somehow, with being broke, they still would sack Hansi Flick if they have to, and they
Yeah.
would try to get in a top class manager still,
Yeah.
right?
100%. Yeah.
Um, so I think there's clubs, even Atletico and all these clubs, they are football minded. The
Yeah.
owners, the people behind the hierarchy of the club, just
Yeah.
cares about the football and the fans, and they love the
100%.
sport. They bleed it. And
100%.
our owners don't love this sport. They probably did what formation they said we should use, a 4-4-3.
4-4-3.
Yeah, they don't know football. They don't bleed it. And if you
This is
don't
a very good point. This is such a good point.
yeah,
They're
if
not lovers of the game.
no.
They're lovers of business. They're not lovers
And
of the game.
when Roman came in, he loved the game.
He
He
loved the
loved
game. Yeah,
Chelsea. He who wanted to win. It was his
yeah,
chessboard. That football
yeah,
field was his chessboard. That boardroom was his chessboard to win football, to win trophies, to dominate
yeah,
football.
yeah,
And I think with Chelsea is not that. And if you bring in leaders to this team, they will see it right through.
mm,
And I think that's one thing. And then second thing has to be with stuff like wages and this and that too,
mm, mm,
that
mm.
they really trying to cut down a lot of these things. So, well, not only cut down, but cut down because they got themselves in a bad position
Right
with these
position.
stupid
Yeah,
investments they made.
yeah. No,
So,
it's a very good point that bringing leaders, they'll just see it straight through because Thiago Silva was vocal against the owners and Thiago Silva's wife, Belle Silva, publicly on numerous occasions stated how she felt. And it's not a surprise. They're not around in the football club anymore. And it's not a surprise. So many people, most recently, Neil Barth from the academy, has parted ways as well with Chelsea Football Club. And there's been so many other people that have parted ways with Chelsea. They see through it.
yeah,
They literally see through it. Like Neil Barth, there was reports when he parted ways. Obviously, it's not anything that's come from him directly, but people in and around commenting in the Athletic and wherever, the Telegraph and whatnot, has said that him being the head of the academy and seeing all of these academy players being flipped for profit um, might have been one of the reasons. Like he was just he didn't see how some of these academy players had a pathway to come into the Chelsea first team. It was literally seen as a good money making machine. Now, I've said it, you know, so many times. Not every player is going to make it from the academy. Not every player is going to make it, but I think the underlining story is that a lot of the people that were involved with Chelsea just saw straight through what's going on and just felt,
yeah,
yeah, let them do what they want to do. We'll find jobs elsewhere and
yeah. And
move on.
I think that and I'm gonna segue into something now
Mm, mm,
that I think that with young players coming in or young players who have already been here, they don't have teammates to look up to, and they need a manager to look up to. They
mm,
need a manager not to look up to in not only in admiration, but also as in I need to stay in line and be guided on the right path. Because if I fall offline, then I could be out of Chelsea. I could
mm,
be playing for like a mid-table club. Oh wait, they already are. I mean, less than mid-table club. I could be playing, and I think with Maresca, I think
mm,
that is exactly what he's trying to do here. He realizes the kind of characters that we have in our team, the kind of characters that we are bringing in,
mm.
and he is stamping his authority in a massive, massive way.
I want to spend the rest of this podcast really unpacking this because I think this is the best topic right now to talk about. I don't really want to spend too much time about transfers and this and that. Those
Mm-hmm.
things can get very boring. This whole thought about how Enzo Maresca has been so powerful in the press conferences, not just the recent ones, but from the get go, it looks like this guy's not there to just sugarcoat stuff. He's actually saying things how it is. He's not coming out and saying what Pochettino was saying last season. Oh, Chelsea must win today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, yesterday. It's not like he isn't making up fluff. Like this guy has not. I don't think Enzo Maresca has ever actually come out this season and said, yeah, the demand for Chelsea Football Club is to win the Premier League right now. Like we are going for this guy's actually being real. He's being real. He's coming out and saying that no, I don't have 40 players. I'm actually training with 20, 21 players. We've already decided the other remaining who are not part of it, we've told them they're not part of it and they're training somewhere else. So he's already sort of negated that with the media. He's also recently talked about Ben Chilwell, Raheem Sterling, and saying that they don't fit. More specifically, Ben Chilwell. Raheem Sterling, I found a bit strange because he did initially say that um, he's an important player. So there is an element of, I think, some of the messages he's just basically being a mouthpiece of the hierarchy, which is fine. It's got to be a collaborative situation. You can't just completely go against the owners and the sporting directors. You're not going to be able to keep your job. So every now and then you do need to be a mouthpiece. No problems, no problems. I think we as a fan base sometimes need to understand that. Well, I also need to understand that. But his recent comments, I found it very, very interesting the way he talked about Michele Mudryk. I don't think he could have been any more blunt, Ryan, about Mudryk. When the journalist asked about Mudryk, he said, well, that's Misha, isn't it? Like, that's how he is since he joined. You don't know what to expect when he's in the final third. It's the decision making that's a bit of a problem. We'll try and help him, but that's who he is. He then goes on to talk about Madueke as well, that at the moment he's not starting because he's not consistent in training, in games. I need to see more consistency for him to actually warrant a starting place. I like him, but the window's still open. Anything is open. So it's not like he's dying for Madueke. And then, very last one, he talked about how I need everyone in the squad to work hard, regardless of who you are, how long your contract is. If you're not working hard from Thursday till the weekend, and from the weekend to the next Thursday when we have these Europa League games, Conference League games, then you're not going to be part of the team. I don't care who your name is. You are not going to be part of the team if you're not working hard. He's late. Like he's put down the gauntlet, and I'm like, has he got these, backing from the sporting directors and the owners? Because the last manager who started to talk against the club later on in the piece, Maurizio Pochettino, well, he's no longer with Chelsea Football Club. Whereas Enzo Maresca, even though the entire of the fan base agrees with what he's saying, are we somewhat worried that can he actually say all of these things? Is that what the sporting directors want him to say? I mean, where are you at? You feel that yes, he needs to be given all the power. If a player is, we've invested a lot of money, but he doesn't like, and we end up making a loss out of him, that's fine. Or is he going to bend over backwards for the owners and whatever they need? Like, where are you at with all of this situation with Enzo
Well,
Maresca?
the way I'm at with it is, you know, I would say before I say like my point of view on it, I would say that I think I saw someone on Chelsea Space or Twitter or some like tweet or
Mm,
something say that it's okay to be ruthless, but you need to deal with humans as if they're human beings.
mm,
Like
mm,
human beings, they have feelings, and I think the way you deal with players and their feelings and their, well-being
Mm.
It reflects on the kind of loyalty that your current players will have, and
True.
it would also trickle down into the academy. It will trickle
100%.
down into future people who are thinking, should I? Before Chelsea was the place for all young players to come,
Mm. Mm.
like academy players. We had the best academy under Roman.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was really family like how we used to bring up people. And even when we used to carry people out on loan and stuff, we used to try to get the best clubs out there for them.
Mm.
We had certain clubs we had partnerships with. We used to try to get the best loan deals for them. We used to take care of them really well in preseason. They used to
Mm.
be involved in preseason. There was nothing. They used to be involved in preseason. They used to get chances to train with Mourinho, this and that, with Tuchel, this
Mm.
and that. They used to get chances to be in around with the board, all of that, right?
Mm.
I
Mm.
think Chelsea as a club used to really treat their players well. And a lot of the times, plenty players who left Chelsea didn't have bad things to say about Marina, or didn't have bad
Mm.
things to say about Roman, or anything like that. They maybe had something to beef out with their manager, but nothing to do with the club. And
Yeah.
I think that it should really, I love the idea of our manager being very, very clear and
Mm.
cutthroat with his words and his actions, because I feel like when you have a squad of 20 and most
Mm.
of them are below the age of 24, you need that leadership. You need your manager to not only be a coach, but to manage you in life, to
Mm.
manage you in all the things I stated half an hour ago, and
Mm.
communicating with yourself in your mind, communicating with others, communicating with the board members, communicating with the teammates. Your
Mm.
manager basically has to be to fill all those roles for you. Why? Because you don't have your teammates do. You don't have your
Mm.
captain. Yeah, your captain is your age, you know?
Yeah.
Your captain was never a captain before,
Yeah.
you know? So it's kind of like that. But I think with Maresca, the way he did things, I think is like is people who's like, for example, Chilwell has a
Mm.
way to say things, right? But Chilwell played a huge role in winning us the Champions League,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
He's etched in our history. Like
Yeah.
it had a time when we won the Champions League once in 2012, that everybody in that starting 11 or in that squad of 20 would
Mm.
have been considered legends forever at Chelsea, because they
Yeah.
did it for the first time ever.
Mm.
And I think that the people who won the Champions League with us are considered to be people that are etched in our history, and we can't just go out there and, if you don't want them in a team, you can't go out there and treat them like they never meant anything to Chelsea.
Mm.
Because then people will be like, well, what's the point of winning the biggest trophies with Chelsea then? Because
Yeah.
if the way I'm treated on my way out isn't with respect, or isn't with love and care,
Mm.
then why would I want to be loyal to this team for? It's a soulless team, it's a soulless club. It doesn't have the love there. Like, if I go to other clubs, you would feel that respect, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that the way that Maresca is communicating these things, it is a double-edged sword. We need it, but to
Mm.
extent you can't leave the wrong impression on people
Mm.
who are yet to join Chelsea, the people who are currently at Chelsea in our academy. So you need to
Mm.
do is a fine line and balance you need to find.
So true, bro. Like, in one hand, you're right. Like, we want to hear our manager talk in that manner and be so brutal with the players, but then on the other hand, you're like, you're gonna have to rely on some of these players to work hard for you, to basically go out there and die for you, and not just the current ones, as you said, players from the outside looking in, thinking, my God, this manager is so open about the players. I don't want to be going into this football club and then be on the front line if situation came to that. And even the existing players, they may think, okay, well, this time it's Sterling and Chilwell and XYZ. Next season, it could be my name that he's talking about.
Think
So,
think about this, right? Conte, right? He's
yeah.
one of the most cutthroat managers ever, right? But it
Mm.
had Cesc Fabregas, who the year before or year before won the Premier League with us.
Yes,
He's
yes.
someone was is a legend of football.
Mm.
Barcelona, this and that, right?
Mm, mm,
Arsenal.
mm.
And Conte was clear that, I'm sure in his mind was clear that, listen, I don't play with a Fabregas type midfielder in my midfield
Correct,
pivot in a three four
correct,
three.
correct.
But he saw the influence that Fabregas has on our team. He saw
Yes.
the qualities that he had. He kept him in the team, not in the starting 11, but he kept him and said that
Yep.
if you work hard enough
Mm.
and buy into what I need from you as a midfielder, you'll play. And reached a point that Fabregas did play for us plenty under Conte. Not
Yes.
as much as
Yes.
before, but he
Yep.
did for at least
He was
half or three quarter
instrumental.
of the season he was there.
He was
And
instrumental in certain games.
and
Yeah.
I think then Fabregas came in on an interview on like when he was a pundit, and he said that he never worked so hard or trained so hard in his life to play football for
Mm,
a team
mm,
than under Conte, and that raised his game. And even if it
yeah.
didn't show on the pitch, it raised something in him professionally that
Mm,
he
mm, mm,
stand up. And I think sometimes that when you have like quality players at your disposal, right?
mm,
And even if it don't directly fit what you're looking for, I think that it's still good to have some of them around just in case that they step up to that challenge and really become pivotal. Because at the end of the day, you never know when you might have to change tactics
mm,
or when
mm,
someone is injured or this and that. So, at one hand, I think it's good to be. I don't think the Sterling one is really Maresca. I think the
mm,
Sterling one is more that 300K he's getting. They
mm.
want him off the books.
Yeah.
But I do think with it could be handled in a way that you need to be very careful with how cutthroat it being.
Mm.
Very careful. You need to be a balance.
Has to be a balance. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's at a point where there is no leaders in the football club, and he's almost having to be the leader as well as being a manager and a head coach. So it's at a point where I hate to say this because this is our third season under the new ownership, but it's at a point where you just got to build from the base. Like, unfortunately, we've not been able to build a base under this new ownership yet, under these
Um,
new sporting directors. And this era under Maresca, it kind of feels like this is the start again.
Let me tell you
Unfortunately,
something,
this
Miss
is the start again.
Chelsea's project of philosophy. I don't know if it's ever been successfully done before.
Mm, mm,
This is the hardest managing job in world football because you're not just a coach. You have to be everything in one. You have to be a psychologist. You have to be a mentor. You have to be a father
mm,
figure.
mm.
You have to teach boys how to be men.
Yeah.
And I think that, but that's okay if you have to teach some boys how to be men, and then you have help with the other men in the squad who could help these younger kids grow.
Mm,
But
mm,
I've never seen a top club that their ambition was to fight for trophies and fight for Champions League, that where it was successful, where they built kids up and grew them in a holistic way from football to tactics to personality to everything, psyche, everything like that.
mm,
Growing 11 players like that. If you think about
mm.
our whole 11 are kids,
Yeah,
even
they all
Kokorea
need
and
to
these guys,
develop. Yeah.
all of them need to be developed. How on earth can a manager do that? Because at the end of the day, these kids, are spoiled brats. It's like a classroom, it's like high school. The
Yeah.
coolest kid in the class, he doesn't like the teacher. Then the three other people who's best friends with their
Mm.
kid wouldn't like the teacher either. Then they'll stop playing, stop listening to the teacher, blah. And then it's just a whole mess because it
Yeah.
doesn't have culture there. Honestly, I do not know how we could become what we want to become because it's
Mm.
never been done before.
And this is why I feel like you're right. It's never been done before, and it's almost as if the 2 years under the new ownership is scrapped, and they're resetting again this season to kickstart the project that's never been done before in life.
Yeah,
They're so hellbound in thinking that this is going to work, um, as long as the right manager comes along. I remember you and me, we talked about this a while back, that you just got to keep flipping managers until you stick one. You just got to keep chopping and changing, keep chopping and changing, and just hope that one day someone lands and it actually does the trick. And we're all hoping that that's Maresca. We're all hoping that that's Maresca. And at the same time, we all understand if he gets sacked as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we're so
yeah.
used to seeing that process that he may not work out and he's going to get the sack, and it's going to have to be someone else. Um,
Liz,
so yeah.
has there ever been a Champions League winning team that sold their whole starting 11 within a year and a half?
I don't think so. You see Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they've won the Champions League, and they did
that's
it back to
that,
back, right? They've done it back to back.
yeah, but that's
Yeah,
they only sold so much after winning like four with the same players.
yeah. I don't think
And
they've
they,
sold any.
and they sold one by one by
Yeah,
one by one by
Tony
one.
Cruz, Benzema. It was all one by one by one by one. You know,
Yeah, one
and
by
they've
one.
then kept on adding
And
superstars,
adding two by two by two. So
two by two
all of
by
a
two.
sudden, one was leaving like started off with Cristiano, then Ramos, then one, then
Yeah.
like all these guys, and then so at the end of the day, Miss, I have no idea how we're gonna pull off
Mm,
getting back to where we need to be. Because I think it's right, you could have all the talent in the world, but
mm,
there's going to be a point where we're 1-0 down, 2-0 down, we lose two games in a row.
mm.
The best teams in the world could lose two or three games in a row, then win five on the bounce. And it'd be
Yeah.
like they never lost those,
The
right?
best teams in the world could be losing 2-0 and come back and win 3-2. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Or it could be like Chelsea where we lose three in a row, and then I think last year sometimes we went like 2 months in a row without getting a win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it could be that. And what's the difference between those two types of teams? One has leaders and personalities that could pull them out of that rut, and
Hmm.
then the other, because these things doesn't only trickle down to talent and how they play in games, it trickles down to how players would show up in training, how
Yeah,
players would
character.
show up in how they would show up in team meetings, how they'd show up, what they would do. But miss people, fans don't realize it could trickle down to their life too. Like if you if for example you seeing how Cristiano trains at home or eats food at home or diets at home or
Mm,
sleeps or recovers, it would trickle down into you and you would go and buy those machines and you would go and do it and you would mimic that. But
mm.
if you seeing that some guy gonna play on Twitch and play PS4 and this and that, then your whole team doing that, and then eventually it trickles down on what you do in between games and or in preseason, and it's a mess.
And to add to that is a lot of these things that we just said, Ryan, there's no stats for it. In this day and age, people are all about data driven and stats. Chelsea are linked with always being told that the data says this is the right player, or that's the right player. But we've just mentioned so many things that data can't capture. Your character. What do you do outside of football? What makes you you?
Hmm.
Are you actually a serious individual? You might be a baller, but overall you're not a serious person. You're not a
Yeah.
like. I give a perfect example, and we're gonna slowly wrap things up because my wife's giving me signals like, "Hey, wrap it up, wrap up the show, man. Need to help me out." The perfect example that I want to give is Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer actually comes across a particular individual to me who's not phased by what he did last season. Like, there's no sense of arrogance. There's no sense of I've done it all. I've won. I've accomplished football. Like a lot of a lot of, and I fully get it that football. There's different characters. Not everyone's going to be the same. But I see Cole Palmer, and I just want to put out an example. Then I see someone like Mudryk who scores a goal against Servette, and he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, brother, what'd you do? You scored a goal against Servette. Like, we should be thumping them. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, for Mudryk, it's like he's done something. He's done something.
Yeah.
Whereas for Cole Palmer, with the season he's had, he's
So
like, I've done nothing yet. I've done nothing. I need
yeah,
to go out there and do more and more and
yeah.
more.
It's so crazy how like celebrations kind of changed. Like you could see, like for example, the celebrations in the Mourinho era time or this and that versus the now. It just seems like whiny kids celebrating. Like it doesn't seem. I don't know, man. I think you know what, Miz? I think this podcast made me realize that we might be doomed, you know. Might be.
No, bro. You're the positive one, bro. You're the positive one. Ryan, we're gonna wrap things up. I can hear my daughter crying as well. Again, it's been a fantastic conversation. Obviously, we've got the Wolves game coming up, and we're gonna catch up again after the Wolves game.
Yep.
But yeah, let's hope that we get a W against Wolves, and let's hope that our football club starts picking up wins, as you said,
Yeah.
wins, make it a habit, and we go from there. Any final bits that you want to add? I can hear my.
I'm just gonna let you off the hook now, bro. Just go there, enjoy your Saturday, have a good time, and I'll see you afterwards.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, smash up the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, and make sure you follow Ryan on Twitter and on YouTube as well. Until next time, take care. See
All
ya.
right,
Bye.
see you.